Alright, guys, so pretty much, guys, I grew up in the ghetto. I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to struggle with money. I know what it's like to be around people, other kids who didn't take their life serious, who was always getting in trouble, who was always getting into fights, people who just like didn't give a shit about their life, drinking alcohol, smoking. I know what it's like to be at that bottom. But I also knew what it's like to go to a nice private school and be around kids who was privileged and spoiled, and there was a lot of opportunities. So I had the best of both worlds growing up, all right? I'm only 22 years old, but when I was growing up, every day I'll be, on the weekends, I'll be hanging out with people that I knew from public schools and people that I lived in the ghetto. And then I'll be on the weekdays, right? Monday to Friday, I'll be going to school, doing extra programs, joining sports. And so I love this because a lot of kids, right? When I used to go to that private school, I was like, a lot of kids, it was kind of weird to me because, to be honest, right, when I went to that nice private school, right, we had a lot of opportunities, good school programs. It was pretty much a college preparatory school, and the tuition was pretty cheap because there's like a program where it would only be like, it would like deduct, or I don't know what it was, but pretty much the tuition wasn't expensive. It would be like $100 a school year. You know what I'm saying? So my parents, they weren't fucking brokies. You know what I'm saying? We were kind of like in the middle class kind of thing, living in the ghetto, but we had enough tuition to make us go to that school. So I was fortunate enough. I was blessed by God to go to this school, right? Because it gave me a lot of opportunities and pretty much it changed my mindset in a sense. So when I went to school right over there Monday to Friday, I was still young, so I didn't take shit serious at the time. But when I was younger, I would go to school and I realized that a lot of times when I went and tried to talk to other kids, I couldn't connect with them. The reason I couldn't connect with them was because they grew up in a different world. They weren't like me where they came from the ghetto. You know what I'm saying? And it's not trying to flex on them, but I feel like it's a good thing on my part because when you suffer in life, when you go and expose yourself to the realities of the world and how bad things can get for people, it would really open your mindset. And I feel like living in the ghetto and going through what I went through also made me more life smart, made me more aware, made me teach me how to interact with certain types of situations, and pretty much it taught me how to be grateful for the things that I have. And also it taught me that I don't want to be in this position anymore. I want to get out. I want to make millions of dollars. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be my own boss, and I can't rely on anybody. When I went to school, a lot of the kids, when I tried to talk to them, I couldn't even relate to them. So that's why in my school year, no excuses for me though, I was very quiet. And I don't recommend you guys to be quiet and shy and timid like me, but I didn't have confidence in high school. And the reason for this is because I couldn't relate or connect with anybody. I thought that, oh, if I talk to them, I think they'll judge me. I think they'll be like, oh, what the fuck? What? You don't have one big house? You live in like one small little apartment with your family? What? You don't have your own computer? What? You don't have your own bedroom? So I always was the type where I didn't have confidence, and I thought that if I was to tell people like things like that, people that I used to talk to in school, I feel like they'll be judging me and they wouldn't understand or relate to any of the problems that I had. When I was talking to these kids, right, maybe at lunch, this is the type of problems they'll be worrying about. They'll be like, oh, bro, I gotta study for my test. I remember this one kid, he was crying because he didn't ace his test. He fucking started crying like your typical nerdy kid. No offense, but literally like kid with the glasses, kid, fucking scrawny and shit like that. Talking like a little, oh, Pokemon. That's not bad, but I'm saying that typical stereotypical nerdy kid, right, in school. He started crying and he started raging because he didn't pass his test. Like he did pass his test, but he didn't get A plus. He didn't get 100%. So I remember he was crying about it. He was mad. I remember one time when I was in ninth grade, I was sitting with these other kids, right? Stereotypical nerdy kids, very nice kids. You know what I'm saying? At the time, I feel comfortable with them. But I remember we were sitting at lunch, and we used to sit outside on this balcony, and we didn't eat cafeteria. Like, we didn't go into the cafeteria. We used to take out food, and we used to just hang out in a certain spot. And I remember when we was eating lunch, right? We had like 20 minutes left. These other kids, they'll be playing with their DS or whatever the hell that they were playing on. They were playing like Pokemon or like a certain video game. And then pretty much these kids were like getting mad. They're like, bruh, fuck man, fuck this game. And they're like getting mad. They're like, I gotta pass this level, blah, blah, blah. And I remember another kid, right? Stereotypical nerd. He was like, hey bro, why you guys complaining about video games? We have bigger problems. I got homework to study. So in the back of my head, I was like, what the fuck? Bro, My problem was when I went home, I had to worry about my family. I had to make sure we was eating dinner. I had to make sure that we had parking and that we wasn't fucking, our cars wasn't stolen on the fucking streets. You know what I'm saying? I had to make sure that when I went home, yes, homework, everything. That's a good thing, right? I recommend you guys, if you guys are still in school, do your homework, take shit serious, get good grades. That's obviously a different set of problem. But in my when I was younger, I was like, what the fuck, right? If when I went home, I had some other real life shit to take care of. I had to worry about money, bills, doing this and doing that. So these kids, they weren't exposed to the things that I was exposed to today, which pretty much created my whole strong mental mindset, right? So that's another thing. When I also went to the school, I also remembered how spoiled these kids was and how they're just like, they didn't have respect for their parents. So this is when I was a senior, bro, in 2019. When I went to that school, we had like this, it was like December 2019. So I remember when December 2019, we had this school program type of thing, and pretty much we had to be in this uniform. We had to be in like long pants, a dress shirt, and we had to have this certain type of shoes. So when I was waiting, right, it's like 7 o'clock in the morning. We had to get down to the assembly down at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we were waiting. I was waiting by the band room, and there was this kid. I guess he realized, oh shit, I forgot my shoes. And the school, right, they're so strict, right? You gotta be in uniform, and this was a graduation requirement. And if you didn't have the certain type of uniforms, then you couldn't walk and you couldn't participate in assembly. And if you didn't participate in the assembly, you couldn't graduate because that's a mandatory thing to do. So this kid, he's fucking freaking out, right? We were seniors now. This fucking kid was 17. I was 17 too. I was grinding at the time when I was 17, bro. I was working my landscaping job. I was playing fucking football, training, doing combat sports, and trying to take school serious. And I was trying to do like YouTube on the side. But anyways, we were 17 at the time, and pretty much he realized, this kid, he forgot his shoes. So he ended up calling his mom, and then he was snapping at his mom. You know what I'm saying? He was like, Mom, where's my shoes? And the mom was like, I guess, I could hear, like, it wasn't on speakerphone, but the mom was kind of talking loud, so I could hear it through his phone. And also, it was kind of funny, because this fucking kid was yelling, bro, at his mom. You know, if I was to yell at my mom, I'll get fucking smacked in the face, bro. It's all about respect, bro. This kid thought he was the parent of his fucking mom. So he was yelling at his mom. He was like, you know, Mom, you were supposed to get my shoes last night. And if you didn't tell me to do this task last night, then I wouldn't have forgot. Fuck you. And he was yelling. He was saying fuck you to his mom. I promise, bro. He was saying fuck you. Fuck you. Get my fucking shoes now. Like, he was yelling. Bro, if I was to say fuck you to my parents, I would not be here today. You know what I'm saying? I'll be on the streets. I'll have like a concussion. You know what I'm saying? So, this fucking kids, you see the mentality, they're so spoiled, and you can tell they're spoiled because if they were not spoiled, they will not be talking to their parents like that. Any kid who has respect and is not spoiled, they would never talk to their parents like that. I promise. I know a lot of people who would never talk to their parents like that because they were never spoiled. So this fucking kid, he thought, you know, he could talk shit because the parent wasn't gonna punish him. He thinks that, oh, the parent's gonna give him whatever he wants. He's fucking spoiled, right? He thinks he's entitled. He was yelling at his parents. I don't care where you work right now. If you're in traffic, leave your fucking job. Tell your boss to come here and bring me my fucking shoes. And he was, I promise, guys, we were in a long hallway. And we were like walking out already. I was getting ready to walk out with my boy. And pretty much I could hear him from the other side of the hall. He was like, fuck you. Like, bro, he was yelling at the top of his lungs. And he was like, he had tears coming down his face. He started punching the wall. Like, this motherfucker was about to be a school shooter. But he was raging. And that's one of the funny stories that I tell people all the time. Like, bro, you know, when I was like, I used to work at the high school too that I went to. And I remember telling these 60-year-olds, right, that I used to work with, and I used to tell them, bro, you know, when I was in high school, like a couple years ago, there'll be privileged, spoiled kids who didn't know how the world worked, and they were babied and pampered by their parents, and they were so entitled, they thought they were in charge of their parents. And I was telling them that story where the fucking kid was just yelling at his parents, cursing at his parents, screaming at his parents, telling them, I don't care if you're at work. Pretty much what he was trying to say is, I don't care if you pay the bills. You better leave the fucking job and give me my shoes. You work and make money, but you're not the one in charge. I'm the one in charge. And he was playing victim. He was blaming them. He had no self-accountability. So that's majority that was pretty much all of the kids at the school that I went to. And so that's why I couldn't relate to any of them. So when I was going to that school, I was like, bro, I couldn't relate. I couldn't understand how these kids were acting the way that they acted. Sometimes when I talk to some other friends, friends in quotation, because I don't know, bro. To be honest, I feel like I didn't have any friends in that school. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was around people, but I couldn't really talk to them. Like, it was just like about school shit, and I just couldn't really relate or have a long conversation with them. And it got to the point where I was like, fuck this shit. You know what I'm saying? But it got to the point where I just couldn't relate to any of these kids. But what I really, really understand from going to that school was, if you're privileged, if you're spoiled, if you're pampered a lot by these fucking parents or whatever, you are not gonna be a strong person. And I'm just saying that, bro. I'm just saying that from personal experience. You guys can argue to disagree with me, but when I was going to that school for 12 plus years, or 12, like, I'll just say like 10 years. When I was going to that school for about a decade, right, growing up, that's what I learned. A lot of these kids, they are not strong. All right? Fucking weak. So, when I was on Instagram, right, I was scrolling and I encountered this page where I don't know if they're making skits or if this is really real of how, whatever, but it was pretty much a mom, and she has like a gamer son. I guess the son is like in his early 20s. He's like the same age as me, and pretty much they'll be recording each other, and the mom would be like, hey son, I got you dinner today, play your video games. Hey son, I'm gonna create a nice room for you to put all your Five Nights at Freddy's Funko Pops and stuff like that. I follow the page. I think it's cool content, but it kind of reminded me of the type of kids that I went to school with, because that's exactly how they were taken care of. Their parents would do everything for them. Their parents would, hey kid, I got you dinner today. Hey kid, I wiped your ass today. Hey kid, I did your laundry. Hey kid, you can play your video games all day. You have no chores or responsibilities. Just do your homework and make your family proud in that sense. They weren't being well-rounded, and they weren't being as strict or disciplinary. You know what I'm saying? It was like, that's how a lot of kids was. They'll go home. Of course, yeah, they did good in school. They had good grades. They were smart. Maybe they did a sport on the side. But when they went home, they were the type where, they were just given everything. They had a nice room. They computers and PCs, playing video games. They had good Wi-Fi. Their parents would always be cooking it. I'm not saying that my family didn't do everything. I had the basic necessities that I needed, but it wasn't to the point where it was like my friends or people that I knew in school, right? So I was like, oh, bruh. But I see that that's the lifestyle that you shouldn't be giving your kids. Give your kids the basic necessities, but also teach them how to be self-accountable. Teach them how to suffer a little bit, because when you suffer, you learn a lot of things. It makes you stronger mentally. It makes you stronger spiritually. It also makes you stronger physically. And it teaches you about the real world that a lot of people, they don't get shit handed to them. So that's why what I'm trying to say is point number one, right? I'm just grateful to have been growing up in the ghetto, but also being exposed to what it's like to be privileged and spoiled and have all these opportunities, because you gotta have best of both worlds, guys. In life, no matter what it is, you gotta be well-rounded in every aspect. But like the Chinese says, it's like yin and yang. You gotta have the balance. You gotta know what it's like to suffer. You gotta know what it's like to hit rock bottom. But also, you also gotta know what it's like to hit the top, and also have all these opportunities. So that's what I really, really learned at that school. And that's the reason why I couldn't connect to anybody, because they couldn't understand my point of view. They didn't know what it's like to suffer. They didn't know what it's like that, like nowadays my mentality is that I don't have any choice to get to no other than get rich and be the best version of myself, because there's no other thing that I can rely on. If I was to stop and give up my dreams now, I still would be living in the ghetto. I still would be living like this. I still couldn't break the generational curse. But these other kids, they know that if their plan A doesn't work out, maybe they go to college, and then maybe they decide to change majors after 4 years after going to college. They decide, you know what, I don't want to do this. They go back home. They know that their parents is going to pay for the tuition. They know that they're still going to have a home to live in. They know that their parents are still going to take care of them. They know that they have a plan B in case plan A doesn't work. If my plan A doesn't work right now, if I can't get rich, if I'm not a millionaire, if I can't retire my parents, if I can't be the best version of myself, guess what? I got no fucking plan B to fall back on. This is all or nothing. I'm going all in, or if I fail, if I give up right now, there's no going back. Like, I don't see a life where I never succeed. You know what I'm saying? So this is all or nothing. I have no plan B. And another thing too, I know that these kids is fucking spoiled because when we were seniors, all these kids could drive. We could drive on campus. We had like a parking section where we could go ahead and drive. And a lot of these kids, they'll be pulling up in fucking Teslas and new Toyotas and new Hondas and Mazdas, fucking Nissans, and it was like new models, bro. I'm talking about new. I wasn't talking about like old cheap cars. You know what I'm saying? But all these kids are pulling up in fucking new cars. They're acting like they were tough, blasting their music like, hey, what's up, bro? Look at my Bugatti. Like, they were acting like that. I was like, bro, you don't even have fucking money. This is your parents' car. Stop flexing. You know what I'm saying? So, all these kids were pulling up, acting spoiled and entitled. And I said, bruh, I'm just happy I wasn't given and handed every single thing in life. Because I know people personally now that is literally like, I look at them and they're like, oh, bro, you are babied. You are spoiled. And no wonder you act like that. No wonder you act like one baby in life. No wonder you're weak mentality. No wonder. You know what I'm saying? No wonder when life throws shit at you, you could never handle and get through it. You always got to have your daddy hold your hand. Daddy, help me. You know what I'm saying? So it taught me to be how, just I love that school. I love, I miss, nostalgic talking about these memories, but I'm just glad that it's over. But I'm glad I went through that portion of my life that exposed me that this is not what I need to be like. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad that I grew up in the ghetto too. Obviously, I don't want to stay here forever, but it's good that I had and experienced this in my life because it taught me so many different things. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just kind of reflecting and kind of, just just yapping at this point. But yeah, I just love talking about my past and like the things that I learned. So if you guys enjoyed today's random video, I'll see you guys for another video. Okay, just subscribe and yep, yes sir.